Welcome back to Open Line. We are talking with Tim Takis, elder law attorney. Our last caller, Tina, was asking about VA benefits.
Yeah.
Sounded like she was 90 years old, questioned whether, since her husband was a veteran, she was entitled to some benefits. There are all kinds of questions about VA benefits.
There is, right. And like in her case, Tina's that person's, the widow, she's 90 years old, and maybe she's been in assisted living for 6 months or 2 years or whatever, and maybe she just learned that, well, my husband was a veteran and he died in like 2001 or in 1998, and I didn't know I could get anything. Because sometimes who thinks about that?
Right.
You have the people that served during World War II. They served, a year, 2 years, 3 years, or whatever. They came out, they're fine. Maybe they didn't really see any combat, but they didn't get injured or anything, and they did their time and they came out, and then here they are 50, 60 years later, and they go, I didn't know I could get any money for that. I certainly didn't know my spouse could. If I'd passed away, and that's exactly what it is. It's called a widow's pension or a death pension, the VA death pension. And what the VA will pay is almost $1,200 a month.
Wow, so that's great.
Yeah, around $1,200 a month that's the maximum that a widow would be able to get. So a person who's in say, assisted living like her, she could prove that, okay, I don't have any money, or I've got a minimal amount of assets or income. And let's say that she sold her house and she's got $150,000 in the bank. She has to meet a net worth test. Well, she's got too much money, but that the VA doesn't have any look-back period. And those of you who have been watching the show for a while know that we've talked about a look-back period, which for Medicaid purposes, if you give money or property away, then you can't get Medicaid benefits for 5 years from the time that you gave those assets away. Now, there's a lot of exceptions to that, so don't take that as that's sort of a general rule with a number of exceptions. So the widow in that case, she says, I sold my house, I got $150,000. She can give it away, which we don't recommend, because if she's expecting to someday get it back, that person will hold it for them.
Right.
That's not maybe a good idea. But she can also create a trust. So she can put those assets into a trust, and she can qualify for the veteran's benefit. But if she does that, then she starts a 5-year look-back period. So the VA doesn't have a look-back period, but Medicaid does. So that's why when we are planning for our clients, oh yeah, we get a VA benefit if we give this asset away. I can get that $1,200 a month. It's like, oh, wait a minute, because if you don't get through the 5 years, then you're going to have to pay the nursing home at $7,000-8,000 a month.
And they'll come after.
Well, they don't come after anything, but what Medicaid does is it's your problem getting the assets back. So that's one of those things you just have to think about, before you just decide to give money or property away.
Right.
And we've talked about that a lot, that that's seldom a really good idea, just to, here's your money,
right,
hold it for me.
Let's go to Brad. Hello, Brad, on line 1.
Hey.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, I was trying to find out about probate, what it means, and how do you do it.
Okay. Any particular reason why, Brad, that you're interested? Any situation that's coming up, or?
Well, my father has passed away, and I don't know about his will.
Okay.
And my mother is older, and I'm just kind of trying to stay ahead of the game,
Okay. All right, so let's talk about that. First of all, he says his father and mother, and I'm going to assume mom and dad have been married for a long time. Because I'm guessing that Brad is probably at least to the age of 18.
Okay.
So they've been married
too.
for a while. Okay, and so mom and dad own, and it probably as a married couple, they own property together, money and property. So husband and wife. So his father dies. And probably at that point, everything that they own was owned as husband and a wife, so it automatically goes to his mom.
Right.
No probate. All right, and if dad had say a retirement plan or a life insurance policy, hopefully he had named his wife as the beneficiary.
Right.
So that asset would bypass probate. So remember, there are three ways property passes. One is by operation of law, which means husband and wife, they own property together as husband and wife. Second is it passes by contract, which means he has a contract with the insurance company that says a life insurance policy, if I die, pay that person.
Right.
And the third way property passes is a written instruction, is a writing.
And that's a will.
And that's a will. That's how property passes. Now, I could also say as well, if you don't have any of those, and you got an asset, you may wind up in court, but it's going to pass by operation of law to whoever your heirs are.
Right.
So if you got children, it's going to go to your children. If you don't have children, it's going to go to great-grandchildren or whatever. But ultimately, that's what Brad has to be thinking about for his father. Okay, are there any assets out there that did not automatically go to his mom? But now
would it be 100% would automatically go?
100%.
Unless the father specifically said, I want some to go to...
Well, it depends on, if, let's say he owns the house. They own, husband and wife, they own the house. And he does a will that says, well, I want to leave my house, half of my house to my kids and the other half to my wife. Well, it doesn't matter what the will says. If they own it as husband and wife together, he dies, it's going to her.
Right.
100%. The way
you can't get half
just by
a
the
house.
way it's titled.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Her name's on the title.
Her name's on the title. Yeah, it's going to go to her automatically, 100%. So what we
even if the husband said, I don't want to get... What if the husband said, I want to give my house to the kids? You couldn't because her name's on it.
Her name's on it. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's a joint owner.
Okay.
Yeah. Right, and that's why it could be that now for his mom, he needs to start thinking about, well, maybe there's no probate for dad. Dad's estate, because everything automatically passed to mom, but what about mom? I mean, if she dies, then there may be a probate. And what probate is, because he asked this, what is probate? Probate is court-supervised estate administration. That's the definition of it, which basically means mom dies and she's got $80,000 or $90,000 in a CD, and it's got nobody else's name on it.
Right.
And Brad goes to the bank and says, well, my mom died, I want that CD. And the bank goes, who are you? Well, I'm mom's son. Well, who else? I'm supposed to get it. It's like, well, you're going to have to go to court to prove to the judge, that you're entitled to it.
Right.
That's what that means.
So that's the worst case scenario.
That's what and that's one of the things that we often do in our estate planning is are there reasons to avoid probate? Are there reasons not to avoid probate? So I mean, all those things come into play.
All right, thanks for that call. Let's go to Larry. Hello, Larry. Larry, are you there?
Hello.
Hi, go right ahead. Are you there, Larry?
Yes, I had a question about inheritance.
Okay. Go right ahead.
I had inherited a large sum, and come to find out it was my great uncle. He was in a very large money laundering.
Oh my.
And it's not a very good...
All right. I don't know about that. But so let's say he's inherited a large sum of money from his uncle. Yeah, there might be something
and it was
nefarious about it.
Illicitly gained, perhaps.
Right.
Okay. That money's Larry's.
Right.
But because nobody, unless his great uncle has already been charged or convicted, or maybe he is supposed to pay that money to somebody else and he has hidden it. Mm-hmm. But I mean, thieves and crooks and whatnot, they pass away just like anybody else, and those assets, and unless the government steps in, and as you say, proves that money should go to the victims, of the great uncle or whatever, then that may be Larry's money.
If they find that, that money was gotten through illegal means, they even after death, could they go back? If it's,
I would suspect so. Now that's kind of getting out.
That's getting out of
my, because that's really criminal law.
Yeah, it is.
And it also depends sometimes on whether it's a federal crime.
Right.
Because there are federal statutes that govern, are there state, what about state? I mean, things, and we all know, or we've heard about things like drugs and whatever, that, you know, that if, you know, okay, here's grandpa, you know, he's, oh, well, you know, my grandson is renting my house. You know, the next thing you know, the government seizes grandpa's house because, you know, the grandson is putting out a drug ring through that. And, you know, I mean, maybe, you know, did grandpa know? All those sorts of things. You know, all that sort of stuff, which is, like I said, it's really outside of my area. But it sounds like I would encourage Larry, if he inherited a large sum of money, which sounds like what he did, is he really needs to contact a fairly experienced, a good criminal defense lawyer.
Right. Yes. Okay. We are going to take a break. If you want to call, there's the number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. Come back and talk more about wills. I think it's a fascinating topic. Take a break. Be back right after this.